Okay, so my name is Sam. I'm a Singaporean photographer, and I spent 4 years at NTU where I majored in photography. And now I'm practicing as a photographer. I do mainly commercial corporate work for my daily work, and I will indulge in personal projects when I'm away from work. So I want to talk about this project that I did before I started pursuing photography formally at the art school. This project, Tourist, was actually part of my reunion show for the Objective Shooting Film mentorship program. So it's a 1-year mentorship where I was mentored by a local photographer, Ernest Goh. And I actually started this project when I was still serving my national service. So a lot of my friends at that point of time, when they book out, a lot of them complain the fact that there's nothing to do in Singapore, there's nowhere they can go. So I wanted to go and challenge the notion that Singapore is a very boring place. Because at the point of time there was also articles in the papers that says that Singapore has a lot more tourists coming in, spending a lot of money. So it made me question like, why, if Singaporeans think that it's such a boring and place where there's nothing much that you can do, why are so many tourists coming to Singapore and spending so much money? So what I did was I went to tourist attractions. I went to places like Merlion Park, the Istana, and I went to photograph these tourists against like a clean backdrop, that means against the sky and stuff like that, doing poses, trying to get pictures. So I wanted to like remove the venue from the photo, but at the same time make these tourists look like they're doing something very interesting and exciting, so that when my local viewers look at this picture, it make them sort of question what are these people doing and where they are, what's so interesting about that space that they are photographing and looking so excited. So yeah, in a sense that was my response to what the general feeling that I get from my friends. The next body of work that I want to talk about is the one I done during the last general election in Singapore, where you can see that it's one of the most important elections in Singapore's history, where a big number of Singaporeans actually think that the oppositions could overthrow the ruling party and take over the government. So what I did was I went to a couple of rallies, and I saw the great disparity in the number of people at the ruling parties and at the PAP and at the opposition's rally. So there could be like 20,000 of them at the opposition's rally and probably like 200 at the ruling party's rally. So it made me want to question like, why is there this great disparity in the number of people at the rallies? Like why is there like 20,000 at the opposition rallies? And I wanted to sort of think what are these people there for? Are they really supporting the policies that are talked about at the rallies? Are they there to support the opposition, or are they there just because it's cheap to be at the opposition rallies? Because at the point of time, a lot of my friends actually like posted on their Facebook saying that, oh, they're all going to Workers' Party's rally tonight. They want to like gather their friends and be there. So it made me question like, is it hip just to be there, or are these people really concerned about the future of the Singapore politics? So when I was there, I actually like saw the fact that because there's like 20,000 of them, the Workers' Party's rally always like held in like very big spaces, big fields in the stadium and stuff. And what I wanted to do with my picture was to sort of question the fact that, are these people really seeking enlightenment or just blindly following the crowd? So if you look at the pictures, what happened was that I photographed these people along the horizon. I had them like with the back facing the camera and them looking into the light. So in a sense it was to question like when you see light, you always think of like enlightenment and like how you found hope and stuff. And on the other hand, I also like thought of like how when I look at zombies movies, like I always have this impression of like zombies walking to the light and stuff. So to me, that was my way of like trying to visually represent these people in a way where you can sort of question them both ways. Whether are they really seeking enlightenment, or are they just like zombies following the crowd? Yeah. So that was what I wanted to question in this series of work. So the last series of work that I want to talk about is superheroes. It's about a series of portraits that I did of migrant workers. So what I did was I went to the work sites, and I went to photograph them against a white backdrop. Okay, wanting to change the perspective of how Singaporeans look at migrant workers. I started working on this project because at one time there were a lot of news about how Singaporeans are very irritated by these migrant workers. Like they would complain if they gather at the void decks, if they drink, or if they behave very unruly at the estates, and how they would chase them by calling the police. So it made me think about a couple of years back when I was much younger. I went to do this community service trip at Sri Lanka right after the tsunami. So what happened was that there was this bunch of street kids who got cut by one of these machineries when they were carrying stuff around. So what happened was I just offered him plaster and helped put it on for him. And what happened was that the next day he actually came and like asked if I want to be part of them and like put on a tattoo. So he actually gave a file and asked me to choose like the tattoo and be part of them. So I was very touched by the fact that this small little thing that I did for them, I just put on a plaster for them, like they could like accept me as part of them and want me to integrate into the society. Whereas the reverse is often like not true. Like despite the fact that they work in the construction sites, like building new flats and houses for us, and actually many of them actually died as in all these worksite accidents. But Singaporeans never think about the fact that these people are contributing to our society. So they want them to be confined in their own compound and not come and disturb the society. They never think of like them as part of our society. So I was quite disturbed by the fact that even though we claim that we are like we want to be a first world country, but we are not tolerant enough to accept these people in our society. So what I did was I wanted to photograph these migrant workers to sort of change the perspective we look at them. So if you look at the pictures, you see that I make them pose and make them look like supermodels, and I intentionally had this white backdrop to sort of like create this illusion that it's unreal. So I wanted Singaporeans to know that like these people actually exist, and we should try to just take away the prejudice that we have against them and see them as like normal people that belong to the society. So in terms of influences, I'm quite interested in the Dr. School of Photography, the German aesthetic, where it's about the clean lines, the use of topology to bring across the ideas. But then again, like that's not the only thing that influences how I photograph. But it's more like everything that I see that helps decide what I do. It could be like local photographers stuff. It could be Chinese photographers. Like there's no one photography that determines what I do, but it's everything that I see that sort of like subconsciously like help me decide how I would photograph, and it also depends on the project that I'm working on. So like sometimes it could be I could be influenced by like the very documentary photojournalism way of photographing. if I'm working on a project that's along that way, yeah. So I can always like in my mind sometimes I can just refer to like how James Natchway would shoot, and then yeah, that could be something that I would do, yeah. And sometimes it could just be any other photographer's stuff that comes to mind. Yeah. So I could say it's like it's very diverse. It's just like a picture memory in my mind, and whenever I see something, then I would just refer to it without even knowing why or how it came to me. So one of the earlier photographers who I looked upon was James Natchway, the war photographer. His statement was that he wanted to be a witness to conflicts and wars and stuff like that. So I thought like, I mean, if my pictures can sort of inform the world or create awareness, that would be like very, very, very meaningful to me. So I also aspired to be a photojournalist at the point of time. But I mean, as I grew older and probably like more street smart, I realized that that is not always the case. Like not everyone has the chance to be James Natchway. Not everyone can like really use pictures to change the world. I mean, I spent some time at Straits Times as a contract photojournalist, and I realized that photojournalists here does the kind of stuff that they do anywhere else, and so like it sort of like sometimes make me question like how much impact does my photos have, like the migrant workers series, whether they change like people's perspective of the migrant workers like as what I thought out to be. There's no way to gauge, and there's no way to quantify like the amount of like awareness that it creates. So that's something that I mean, when I work on projects, even though I have that certain intention, I don't know whether what's the real outcome that comes from the project. And I mean, sometimes people even like question like, are you exploiting these people for art or what? But yeah, I guess like the only way is just to keep doing what you believe, and there's only so much you can achieve. But if you believe in what you're doing, then just keep going on and see how it goes from there.